Hello again. I hope you enjoyed last week, and this week we're going to talk about C.S. Lewis. I'm sure a lot of you are very familiar with C.S. Lewis. He's an extremely prolific and very influential writer, both of his time and even our time today. He wrote Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. He was pretty much known throughout time as being a fantasy writer, a lot of times for children. A lot of his movies now are being made into movies, just as Tolkien has experienced. He also taught at Oxford University with Tolkien, and he was a department chair for medieval and Renaissance literature. He wrote over 30 books that spanned for both children and adults. And it's according to his official website, he has sold over 100 million copies of the Narnia series. His works have been translated into over 30 languages. And his actual Narnia stuff has been on radio, stage, TV, and film, not including the books themselves. It's really funny because people, he is being considered a Christian author, which is why we are going to study about him. But he hasn't always been a Christian author. He was known actually for falling out of his faith as a teenager and becoming an atheist. He said, this is his quote, "Had God designed the world, it would not be a world so frail and faulty as we see." But as you'll learn next week, we're going to talk about Tolkien as well. He is a big influence on C.S. Lewis, coming back to Christianity. They had many conversations, and the way that C.S. Lewis described it, he came back kicking and screaming. He did not want to come back to the Lord. Here's an actual quote that Lewis said about his conversion. He said, "You must picture me alone in that room in Magdalen, night after night, feeling, whenever my mind lifted, even for a second from my work, the steady, unrelenting approach of him who I so earnestly desired not to meet. That which I greatly feared had at last come upon me. In the Trinity term of 1929, I gave in and admitted that God was God, and knelt and prayed, perhaps that night, the most dejected and reluctant convert in all of England." So he didn't necessarily come back to the Lord like all excited. He really, really dug in, but he came to the conclusion that God is God, and he came back to the Lord. Tolkien was Catholic, and Lewis actually had his roots in being Anglican, and so they definitely had some issues there, which ultimately would affect their relationship later on. As he wrestled with his faith, though, you will see in some of C.S. Lewis's works, like The Great Divorce, he mentions purgatory, and in the Screwtape Letters, he talks about the great sin, both of which come from a Catholic kind of faith. His conversion back to Christianity had a huge impact on his writing, and he is actually considered very high regarded in the church back then, as is he today. His book, Mere Christianity, which I don't know if you've read it or not. If you haven't read it, you won't read it in this course, but I highly suggest possibly putting it on your list to read at some point. It definitely challenges Christians both back then and today, and is definitely one that I think you could really benefit from reading. And as we get ready to end, and I let you get back to reading, because I know you have a lot of reading to do this week, I just want to give you just a fun fact. C.S. Lewis actually died the exact same day that Kennedy was assassinated. And what's interesting about that is that because of the fact that he died on that same day, there was very minimal coverage of his death. And but as he joined God in heaven, his words still remain present with us today. And I hope you'll enjoy the reading as you go through it this week. God bless. Have a great day.